Nothing to worry about, guys. Everything is fine. Welcome to Quality Control. I am your quality control coach, officially, Grant Cohn. And we have news. I didn't go live yesterday about this. I made some instant reactions about Christian McCaffrey being added to the injury report. I think we're all sort of waiting for more information. All we know is that the Niners put him on the injury report, and it's interesting to see where people go with this. I mean, there's the obvious context from last year that is hard to ignore, but yet some people do. And I think the response to this is kind of like the response to the NFL Red Zone. The people that came out was like, it's just a couple of minutes of commercials. It's like, aha, corporate shill. The people who don't want to acknowledge the past here are compromised. They're in the pockets of the 49ers. Can't let that happen. This is a great opportunity to point out that the emperor is wearing no clothes. You know what I mean? We don't know how serious this is, but you can't ignore the fact that we lived this last year. We can't ignore the fact that the Niners weren't 100% transparent about this last year with Christian. So when Tom Pelissero comes out and says that he's hearing that it's not super alarming, that means nothing. Something is going on here. Is it catastrophic? I have no idea. Is it a small issue? Maybe. But we won't really know anything until 90 minutes before game time. For all we know, Christian will practice today. It's a walkthrough. He can walk. Probably. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. There's a possibility he can walk. Last year, he had a calf strain that kept him out until week 10. Ended up going to Germany. But he practiced at the walkthrough the Friday before the game against the Jets. He was on the field the day of the Jets game warming up. And it was only at 90 minutes before game time that he and the team decided that he wasn't going to play. So if he's out there at practice today and he talks to the media, I'm not going to be there. I'm flying to Seattle at 2. Dumb. I should have booked that for later today. Didn't think that Christian was going to get hurt this fast. I don't know why I didn't think that, but yeah. So if he talks today, if he's at practice, walking around, going through his warm-ups, running, doesn't mean anything. If he talks at his locker and says that he's fine, doesn't mean anything. Because last year, you could look it up. I retweeted it. It's on my X account. That sounds so bad. Twitter account. He was interviewed in a group. Josh Dubow, Cam Inman. Cam Inman himself asked, are you concerned about your calf injury? And Christian says, it's not a concern to me. And then he kind of looks down. An obvious oh, man. Was that the whole truth? Kind of a look. Kind of a funny thing to say, too. It's not a concern to me. That could be a true statement. Yeah, it's hurt and I'm going to miss time, but I'm not super concerned about it because I just signed a massive extension and I have guaranteed money and I'm taken care of. And this is part of sports and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm not super concerned. It'll work itself out. You know who is concerned? Probably the team, the people who signed him, his teammates, his coaches, fans of the team, people who care what happens to the team. So it's ominous, right? Eric Branch used that word in his article today. Eric's doing such a great job covering the team. Proud of Eric. Shout out to Eric. Ominous. This is an issue. It didn't go away last year. He had a calf strain all of training camp. It didn't go away. By the time he came back in late October, early November, he still wasn't the same. All that time off, he still wasn't the same. Then you have this entire offseason and that one strenuous practice before the first game, he can't make it through it. It seems like he could have all the freaking rest in the world, but it's not going to go away 100%. You can't, if the Niners say that this is completely unrelated to what happened last year, would you believe them? How could it be completely unrelated to what happened last year? It's the same area of his body. He's only a year older. And really, he's had calf issues since like 2022. He missed a game with the calf injury in 2023, week 18. He has big calves. Can we just say that? Big calves. Not that I've noticed. I'm never going to beat the allegations except by you checking my. Well, I'm just being a journalist at this point. I don't think it's, and the entire offseason, people from the Niners, like Jed and John and Kyle, the whole attitude seemed to be that, well, if Christian's healthy, we'll be fine. Okay, but what's the inverse of that? What if he's not healthy? Then what are you? Last year, Christian wasn't healthy. You won 6 games. If this year is like sort of a repeat of last year for Christian, where he's in and out, and maybe he misses week 1, and week 3, and week 5, and it takes him a while, but he's eventually out there and he's not quite the same. Is this a team that can win 7 games? If Brian Robinson Jr. is their starting running back and Isaac Guerendo's their backup, can they win 8 games? I don't know. Is this Christian McCaffrey extension the worst extension in franchise history? They gave more money to Brandon Ayuk, who got hurt, but Christian was hurt when they signed him. I can't. Of all the this is sort of like when they traded for D Ford, who was hurt when they traded for him. Although I'm not sure that they knew he was hurt, but it's like that. They have a troubling history of giving money to people who are currently injured and then hoping they'll get healthy. D Ford never got healthy. Christian McCaffrey hasn't gotten healthy. I wouldn't even be surprised if he were to miss week 1, if the Niners were to say things like, it's okay, it's fine, we were just being cautious. Sure, he missed an incredibly important divisional game, but it's just week 1. It's a long season, and we got to be cautious with Christian. He's fine. The way that they tell us that nothing's wrong here is similar to the way they tell us nothing's wrong with Jake Moody. And isn't that kind of the definition of gaslighting, when like everyone can tell that there's a major issue and they're like, no, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Sure, Christian's been hurt for about the last year and a half, but we're confident that Jake Moody's missed 800 kicks, give or take, in the last 365 days, but we believe in that talented young man. This is what's interesting about a regime being in place for 9 years. There's all this history. You know what they've done in the past, and like something like this happens, it's like, okay, well, this is like that. This is like the thing that happened last year. And we remember how you talked about it, and we remembered how you weren't completely transparent. And we remember how the story changed. It's a calf strain. Actually, it's an Achilles strain. Actually, it's both Achilles, and it's this thing called bilateral Achilles tendonitis that sounds bad. Actually, he's going to Germany to get a treatment that you can't legally get in America. I mean, that escalated. So right now we're at calf strain. What does that mean? I just want to reiterate, to me, it doesn't mean, it's not nothing. It's not like I don't think the Niners said, you know what, we want to give Christian sort of like a little bit of a day off. So he'll be out there for warm-ups. He'll warm up like it's any other day. And then when the media leaves, he'll be in there with the team going against the scout defense, going through the offense for the week. And then, 10, 15, 20 minutes left in practice, we'll pull him out. And just to troll Grant and everyone and the Seahawks, we're going to say that Christian was, limited with a calf, when really, this is just an elaborate troll. It's a ruse. It's not even a joke. It's a ruse. I don't think it works that way. I think what's more likely is that he was practicing. He was gearing up for week 1 the way he would have in 2023. He was really giving it his all, and he felt something in his calf that troubled him. Maybe the Niners told him to stop, or maybe he said, you know what, this doesn't feel right, I'm stopping. But he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to push through this and potentially risk tearing his Achilles to play in a week 1 game. Not that he should. I mean, didn't we have this sort of discussion in the NBA like few months ago, Tyrese Halliburton has to get out there with this calf strain. You got to put it all on the line for his team. And then he tears his Achilles. Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard. It's the playoffs, man. You gotta go out there. And then what's gonna happen? You're gonna tear it. So you gotta give Dre Greenlaw respect for playing through it and trying to make it work in the Super Bowl towards Achilles. And still hasn't really made it back. So my read is that Christian's going to be pretty safe here with himself. He's going to protect himself. He's going to advocate for himself. And if the Niners look at his calf today and say, we're going to give him a questionable designation, we think there's a 50-50 chance that he can play. Is he injured? Sure. But it's not awful. If they list him as questionable, he has his own opinion. He has his own team. And remember, they listed him as questionable for week 1 last year. He didn't even really do anything in training camp. Their trainers and doctors looked at him before week 1 and said, there is a legit chance he could play in this game. They were off by 10 weeks, according to Christian and his team. So now, what happens this time? I don't know. DeMarcus Jones says precisely why I have B-Rob in fantasy. See, I have B-Rob as well. I'm in a dynasty league with Jesse and Sunil and Marco, Jesse Naylor. And I drafted B-Rob because I haven't played in 15 years and my team is legitimately awful. It's so bad. It's just terrible. So I just drafted him because I was like, well, he starts for Washington. I get some touchdowns. Then they traded him and I'm like, man, my team is even worse now. But you know what? It just got better. But I feel like if you knew this was going to happen, would you rather have B-Rob or Jordan Mason? I think trading Jordan Mason is still going to come back to bite him. I think Jordan Mason is going to be so good this year. He's on my I have a dynasty team with those guys, and I have a fantasy team with my high school friends. And that team is better because I've been practicing. I'm doing mock drafts, and I got Jordan Mason on that team. I could have had Christian McCaffrey. I had the 9th pick, and he was there. And Yahoo said the best player available was Christian. And I said, no, sir. No, Mr. Yahoo. I disagree with you. I'm taking Derrick Henry. And I think I made the right pick, even though he's older than Christian McCaffrey, because Christian has his calf thing. 7 Dennis 123 says bottom line, Yorks equals 0 Super Bowls. Bottom line. Double B Studio says looking forward to the Seattle tour video. Oh yeah. Also, in about 15 minutes, I got Brian Nemhauser coming on the show to break down the Seahawks for us. Brian Nemhauser does a great job. He's the Hawk blogger. He's like the Grant Cohn of the Seahawks content creators. I think he's great. So yeah, that'll be about 15 minutes. We're here to talk about Christian McCaffrey, but also I want to talk about Jauan Jennings first. I mean, second, because I haven't really talked about him much since he got his raise. He was sort of the man of the offseason. Spoke yesterday. So Jauan Jennings he made a very interesting decision. And I kind of made fun of him after he got his raise because it's not a raise. He was over here asking for $20-something million a year and got $3 million in incentives. That's rough. Like you might not get any of that depending on if you get hurt or if you get passed up by Brandon Ayuk or DeMarcus Robinson or anyway, he gets an opportunity to get a raise. And he was all smiles in the locker room yesterday. There was a report on social media that the Niners were offering him like a 2 or 3 year deal worth about $15-16 million a year, which to me is fair. I'm not even sure if I would have offered him that from the 49ers perspective because you're spending so much on wide receivers already. But that's, I think, what he's worth right now. If Cooper Kupp is worth that, then Jauan Jennings is worth that plus. So I like the offer from the 49ers if they indeed offered him that. And I respect the fact that Jennings didn't take it. He made a tough decision, and he might be wrong. But I think I would have made the same decision. Last year, he wanted an extension, and he settled for that little dinky 2-year extension that screwed him over. He was coming off a 19-catch season and a nice Super Bowl, and he cashed in to get, wide receiver 4 money, low wide receiver 3 money, and he called it a win because he hadn't made much money yet in his career. I get it. But if he hadn't done that, if he had bet on himself like he did just now, he'd be a free agent right now. He'd probably get $20 million a year because he is really good. Jauan Jennings, can we just say that? I know like Niner fans are like don't want to say that out loud right now because they don't want him to price himself out of town because he's hella good. He's hella good. If you just throw the ball up to a wide receiver and you expect him to catch it, how many guys are you more confident are going to come down with it than him? 3 or 4? Wide receivers, 3 or 4? Mike Evans, Drake London. Who else? Jauan Jennings is hella good. He absolutely is worth 18, 19, 20. Given how the salary cap goes up, how the wide receiver market has exploded. Yes. So instead of getting $15 million a year this year, he's betting on himself that when he hits free agency next year, he'll be regarded as one of the top guys. And I think he will. So I respect it. He could have said, you know what? I'm just a low-level wide receiver too. Let me just take this $15 million a year and be happy. But that's not him. He sincerely believes he's the best wide receiver on the team. He believed that in 2023. He believed it in 2022. He couldn't be who he is if he didn't believe that. You don't want him to like, you don't want to take him down a peg. You don't want to humble Jauan Jennings. You want this Jauan Jennings. So he's betting on himself. I don't think he's going to pout and sulk all year the way other players might in his situation. I think he's going to give the 49ers his all. He's going to kick ass this year. He didn't do training camp, so we'll see what he looks like in September. But I respect the decision he made. He may have been wrong. If he gets hurt this year, if he gets buried on the depth chart, if the fact that he held out leads to him, pulling his hamstring or just not being in sync with the offense, and he has a down season, he could forget $20 million a year, forget $15 million a year. He could be back asking for 10, hoping to get 10. I think this is high stakes. Gotta love it. And I'm glad that he bet on himself, because I would think that if he didn't, I'm like, are you a phony? Are you not who you seem to be, who you present to be? And it seems like he is exactly who he presents to be. So it's not as simple as him settling for a bunch of nothing. That's what I thought at first. But it's like, no, he actually turned down an extension. He said, nah, man, just give me some incentives and I'm getting out of here next year. Is there another thing? So like the Niners are like, hey, we still might extend him later in the year. No, you're not. No, you're not. He's leaving. Another one of your tough, gritty guys is leaving the team. And it's that B-list of players. You've made it real clear to him, man, you're not an A-list guy. You said the same thing to Greenlaw. You said the same thing to Huff. You said the same thing to Travaris Ward. We love you. We love you guys. That's how they start off you're not in the A-list group. We just want to say you're our kind of guys. We love you. And you fit right into the culture. It's just that you can't pay everyone. We love you, but we also love Colton McKivitz. Once they put you in the same group as Colton McKivitz, it's bad. So the problem is you need B-list players on your team. What makes the Seahawks interesting is they have a ton of B-list players. I don't know if they have many A-list players. Do they have any A-list players, the Seahawks? I don't know. Not really. Not really. But they have 15 to 20 B-list players. The Niners have their 8 A-listers. Right? Brock, Christian, when healthy. Brandon, when healthy. Trent, George, Bosa, Warner, Lenore. Those are the A-listers. The B-listers are Jennings, McKivitz, not Brendel, not Barch. Robinson, he's kind of a C-lister. I feel like they have 2 B-listers who won't be here next year. They have the A-listers, a dwindling class of B-list players, and then C-listers and rookies. And I don't know if that's the best way to build a team, because depth is kind of important, right? I mean, especially if your A-list core is old and the running back is hurt all the time and the season keeps getting extended. I mean, it was 16, now it's 17 weeks. Probably in a few years, it'll be 18. Only one team gets a bye instead of 2 like before. You got to be prepared to play 20 games in a season if you're going to win a Super Bowl. Don't you need like a whole? Is it enough to just have 8 A-list players? Isn't that the Cowboys? I don't know. These are my thoughts on this Friday morning. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping and RVing says, shout out from work in Florida. We're living life. I can't wait to see you in a few weeks, man. Going to be in Florida too. Joshua Wyatt says, been watching B-Rob Tate since the trade. He is legitimately the worst vision I've ever seen from a back. That's not good. Kyle will bench that guy in the first quarter. There's got to be a reason that the Commanders didn't want him. They're like, sorry, 26-year-old B-Rob. We have Austin Eckler. We're good. We drafted this guy. No, we didn't. We signed this guy as an undrafted free agent named Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. And the fact that he has 3 names, not enough because he goes by Bill. Call him Bill. And he's better than you. When the schedule came out, I was like, man, this is a 7-10 team. I don't believe anything that they're selling me. And then I got sucked into the romance of it all, watching camp, watching Christian run around. I mean, I knew he wasn't really kicking into 5th gear. I said it, but I was like, he's healthy though. 10-7. I said 10-7 yesterday, Tuesday. Now I'm back to feeling like, I don't know, maybe less. Double B Studio says, could Niners beat Eagles if Purdy got spat on? These are the questions that keep me up at night. I don't have the answers. Good question, though. Score prediction. Well, let's ask Hawk Blogger at the end of the show. He'll be on in about 5 minutes. Bryant Culp, member for 41 months. If JJ a true number 1 this year, what is his value? I wouldn't say he's a true number 1. I don't know if he's a true number 1. He doesn't stretch the defense. He is a legit possession receiver, though. Grant, can we see your fantasy team? Yes. I'll show you my fantasy team. Show you in a second. You really want CMC injury to be serious, don't you? No. What I want is irrelevant. It's what's happening. I can't speak it into existence or out of existence. This is just it's one of those is what it is situations, as Jimmy Garoppolo would say. Jeremy says 3 million really. Brock versus Burrow in Super Bowl. Okay. All right. Let's check out some prize picks. What is the situation? Should we go straight to Christian? I think we should. I love that Christian is still on the board. I wonder what prize picks thinks. 16 rushing attempts for Christian week 1. What do you guys think? Huh? 16. I'm thinking, it's a tough one, guys. Christian McCaffrey, week 1, 16 rushing attempts. He could be fine. We don't know. This was precautionary. I'm gonna go with less. George Kittle, 64.5 receiving yards. Nah, that's not fun. Isaac Guerrero, will he score a touchdown? Is this it for Isaac Guerrero? I don't think the answer is yes, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Ricky Pearsall, 43.5 receiving yards. That's an easy more to me. People just don't understand what Ricky's going to be doing this year. 43.5. Smash that. 3.5 receptions. I feel like that's even easier. 4 catches for Ricky. But he's going to also average like 17 yards a catch. Don't he have 4 catches? He could have 3 catches for 45 yards. I'm going to go with the yards. Jordan James, Jordan Watkins, Luke Farrell, Brian Robinson. That might be the savvy play. Touchdown for Brian Robinson. Yup, taking it. Fred Warner, Renardo Green, Michael Williams with a sack in his first game ever with no preseason. I'm staying away from that. Jauan Jennings, no. 10.5 yards on first reception for Jauan. Interesting. How about less? I don't know why I feel that way. Purdy. This fantasy score? I don't even know what that means. There's a lot of Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to play, or I don't know, actually. There's a lot of Christian here. AJ Barner. Who else do I got? Kenneth Walker. I like Kenneth Walker. 14.5 rushing attempts for Kenneth Walker the third. Ooh. Less. Oh, I didn't feel good about it. I missed it. Maybe I'm going to say more, less, more, less, more, less, more, less, more, less, more, less. Okay, I'm going to go less. There's the lineup, finalizing it, flexing it, submitting it. Should we check out my fantasy team? Okay. Let's check out my fantasy team before we go. Done. Where are you going? View board. Where'd you go? Wait, no. View board. Cool. Close. How do you get to? Oh. Okay, hold on. No, hold on. Fantasy. All right, this is my Yahoo fantasy team. I can't show you my dynasty one because it's a competitor. It's a Prize Picks competitor, but Yahoo. Okay, so this is my team. Kyle Banana Hands. I got Jalen Hurts. He was great. Gotta love a quarterback who can run, right? Terry McLaurin, Ricky Pearsall, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Evan Ingram, Jameson Williams, Cam Dicker, good name, Minnesota defense, then Mason Eckler, Khalil Shakir, Rashad White, the handcuff for Bucky Irving, and Jordan Love. It's my team. What do you guys think? We're in the town business. Not business, town business, because we're all from Oakland. And it's how we do it. So that's my team. All right. Just waiting for the Hawk Blogger to get here. We'll be here in about 2 minutes. See if we got any more. Ooh, Corbin B official member for 48 months. That is 4 years. Thank you so much, Corbin B official. Yep. Ricky in the... Oh, we got someone here. Look who this is. I got a very special guest today. Brian Nemhauser, the Hawk Blogger. He has me on his show all the time. Seahawks fans like the way I talk about their team. Well, this team. I'm a big fan of the Seahawks. Brian, it's so good to have you here. How are you?
How you doing, brother? It's good to be here, man. I think you're not liked because of the way you talk about the Seahawks, because you talk a lot of crap about the Seahawks too. I think you're just liked because you're the only one willing to kind of speak truth to power down there in the Bay, man.
Well, thank you very much. I'm trying. Well, all hell just broke loose. We were getting ready for a normal week 1 game, and then Christian McCaffrey just popped up on the injury report, and they didn't say anything about it. We don't know really what to expect. So that's the backdrop of this game. I'm going to ask you some questions about the Seahawks because genuinely Niner fans don't know anything about this team. Nothing.
Yeah. They're not alone. No. It's tucked up in the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of people don't know about it.
I mean, this is a team that won 10 games last year with a first-year head coach, and now they're pretty much the most popular pick to finish last in the NFC West. And I'm not sure exactly why. So let's just go through it systematically. This defense, it's good, right? The Niners defense is a work in progress, and it might be good in November, but how good is the Seahawks defense right now?
Well, beginning of last year, it was the number 1 defense through 3 weeks of the NFL season, but they were playing all backup quarterbacks, and that came crashing down. Jared Goff went without throwing an incompletion on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks last year, completely dominated them. And they went on a stretch. They lost to Daniel Jones. They absolutely cratered during the middle of the year. And Mike McDonald changed out personnel. Ernest Jones was traded for. Both their starting linebackers gone. They insert Josh Jobe at corner instead of Trey Brown, who 49ers fans have at least a cup of coffee with this preseason. And then insert Kobe Bryant at safety instead of Rayshon Jenkins, along with some other moves, Roy Robertson Harris and stuff. And all of a sudden, from week 10 on, the Seahawks were a top 5 defense the rest of the year. And the interesting thing there is they even had some poor games in the middle. Like the Green Bay Packers came in and kicked them in the teeth in the first half of that game. But even with that, the Seahawks were a top 5 defense and finished top 10 for the full season, even though they had some really low lows. So coming into year 2, it feels like it's following the script Mike McDonald's followed before, which was Baltimore, first 8 games, not good. They get Roquan Smith. All of a sudden, they're top defense the last part of that year. Then the second year was 2023 with Mike McDonald, and they had the number 1 defense in the NFL 49ers fans remember how that went when they came in and played the 49ers during their Super Bowl year. But I don't know if this is that defense. I don't know if this is that defense because I think I heard you before, like, who are the blue chippers on this team? Leonard Williams is one that I think, led all defensive interior linemen in sacks and tackles for loss last year. Should have been an all-pro, but I think it's fair to ask that question. I don't know if anyone else has. Devin Witherspoon has been to Pro Bowls, well-respected. But who are the dudes that are the Fred Warner, Nick Bosa level guys that every single week someone's like, oh man, how are we going to deal with that guy? Seahawks they have a lot of young guys, but they've got to prove they got more than one of those.
If you had to pinpoint the defense's biggest strength, what would it be?
Yeah, I'd start with the defensive line. And, with Leonard Williams still playing, his best football, really. Last year was the best year of his career. Byron Murphy was a guy that they drafted 16th overall. And a lot of people are like, man, he had half a sack. He didn't really put up big numbers. He actually had a really, really strong year, but they asked him to play a lot of nose tackle, play a lot of run defense. And if I told you that he had the 7th highest pass rush win rate among defensive interior linemen in true pass sets, I bet that surprised you. Like he was right up there with DeForest Buckner, another guy that 49ers fans should know. He's ready to come out this year, I think, and break out. And then you've got Jaron Reed. You've got a lot of guys going on. And then I think DeMarcus Lawrence is a pretty big add to what was Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. You guys probably will not see Uchenna Nwosu this week is my guess. But that's just a really deep group that can play the run and the pass really well. And I think they are the foundation for that whole defense.
What would you say their biggest weakness is? And if you had to anticipate, like, what Kyle Shanahan's probably going to try to go after?
Well, those are probably two different answers, I would guess. Yep. But even though they have been they've got guys that can go against the run, they did not get a new nose tackle. And so Jonathan Hankins was their nose tackle last year. He's old and didn't play that well. And they brought him back kind of, but he's on the NFI list, so he's not even active. They got some young guys, Quentin Bohanna, Brandon Peely, that might play nose tackle for them, but they might ask Byron Murphy to do that again. I don't think that's the best use of his skills. And so the run game, which is obviously has been a focal point for the 49ers, that's the first thing I would think that they would really try to test out on the Seahawks defense. Because you remember the 49ers coming up to Seattle last year, and basically everyone on the roster was running for 100 yards against the 49ers. Was it Garendo that had the big 70-yard run at the end of the game, right? So I think they'd start there. I also think from what Kyle Shanahan would attack, Kyle Shanahan always attacks linebackers, man. And Tyrese Knight, Ernest Jones. I mean, Tyrese Knight coming into his second year. He's a not as well-known player, but this is a guy, Mike Macdonald started his coaching career coaching linebackers, and he has a pretty good track record with identifying linebackers. And when they picked Tyrese Knight last year, John Schneider even said at the podium, that's a Mike Macdonald pick. Kind of I wasn't necessarily there, but he wanted him. And he ended up starting and really blossoming towards the second half of the year. So he'd be a guy to watch. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're still second-year linebacker. That's exactly what I'm looking for to take advantage of.
Nick Amenwori. I don't know if I pronounced his name correctly, but I know he was your second-round pick, and he was incredible at the combine. What's the plan for him? How's he going to be used?
Yeah, I'll help you out there. It is Emenwari, which I said incorrectly for about 2 months. So I'll help you out. But incredible athlete, one of the most historically athletic safeties to ever play, to ever be measured. They've got him playing a big nickel position, so he's not really playing a classic safety. What they're doing with him is they're putting him in a kind of a Kyle Hamilton-esque role to be a big, long, tall nickel. Moves Devin Witherspoon outside. So people are like, oh, Josh Jobe, let's throw at the third corner. He's not going to be on the field as much because Emenwari is going to be on the field and Devin Witherspoon is going to play outside. And then what that does is it allows Mike Macdonald to be a little bit more disguised with his blitzes. Everyone used to know Devin Witherspoon was the guy that was going to come on blitzes. Emenwari with that speed, 4.3 speed at 220 plus pounds, his blitzing during preseason, during camp, really stood out. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they send him after Brock Purdy a couple times.
Okay. Let's talk about the offense. And when we start with the offense, let's talk about the quarterback. For some reason, the Niners don't really seem to respect Sam Darnold. They know Sam Darnold. Maybe it's because he was their backup quarterback. They faced him in practice. Asked Fred Warner and Nick Bosa in particular, asked him about him. He's like, yeah, we know he does well, and we know what kind of he struggles with. It's like, okay, well, it didn't really help you last year because he diced you up, beat you last year. Had a great year. I mean, 35 touchdowns, 4,300 yards. Purdy's never done that. Lost in the playoffs. He was on the road. Purdy's never won a road playoff game. How do you size up Sam Darnold? How good is he in your eyes? And like, how confident are you in him?
Man, that's a tough question, dude. I would say this. I probably was with the rest of the NFL that when JJ McCarthy went down last year and Sam Darnold became the starting quarterback of the Vikings, I was like, oh man, they're going to have good luck winning 3 games. Like they're going to be really bad. And then they won, and then they beat the 49ers. And I was like, whoa, like that was the game. I was like, what just happened? And then they kept winning it, and he wins 14 games. And I was like, I saw him come into Seattle and throw an absolute dime to Justin Jefferson after getting hit in the mouth by Byron Murphy and being under pressure to win that game. And I was like, this guy is pretty good. And then we all saw the last 2 games of last year, and everyone's like, okay, no, he's just who he always has been. Here's the thing, man. Like, I think he's there's a relationship between him and Matt Stafford in a weird way, which is that everybody talks about Matt Stafford like, oh, dude, this is a dude. This is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because of his last 2 games. Like the last 2, his playoff games, everyone's like, this dude is amazing. The rest of the season, he was crap. Like it was a worse year of his career, or at least the last decade. Sam Darnold's kind of the opposite. Everyone's like, the last 2 games, you're bad, so that's who you are. But they ignore the rest of the season. He was literally an MVP conversation. So long way of answering your question. I didn't know what to expect. I went to first practice and I was like, oh, dude, this is going to be rough. He looked uncomfortable in the pocket, inaccurate, indecisive. A lot of interceptions. Like I was like, this looks like the worst possible scenario. This team's going to have trouble. By the end, I mean, I don't think I've seen him throw an interception for a month in practice against a good defense. He's been carving up the defense in the red zone. He has been in real command. And so I think I go into the season thinking like, can he be a solid game management kind of quarterback that can hand the ball off, run under center play action, and hit the occasional explosive pass. He led the NFL in explosive passes last year. And then be decent in the clutch, which was shocking to me to find out. He led the NFL in passer rating in close and late situations last year, under 5 minutes to go within 1 score. So yeah, he's an interesting, confusing dude. And I don't think any of us really know what he's going to be until the games start this weekend.
I know there's a lot of like argument among Seahawks fans whether or not he's an upgrade over Geno Smith. And I usually just watch the Seahawks when they face the Niners. And from that perspective, I never got it with Geno Smith. I mean, he always saved his words. He always saved his words for the Niners. And then all of a sudden, Sam was unfazed. Sam was really good against the Niners last year. Do you think that Sam's an upgrade over Geno?
Not at this point. No.
Okay.
I'm in the camp of, I think Geno Smith is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and was in a really, really, really challenging spot. And it wasn't just him, like he wasn't alone, but he mitigated a lot of that. I think he made some of the best throws in the NFL during his career. I think he's one of the most accurate passers, been one of the most clutch quarterbacks, the amount of game-winning drives, fourth quarter comebacks. And so just from an accuracy standpoint, which is a big part of being a quarterback, Geno Smith clears Sam Darnold. But I think Geno Smith is also 35. Sam Darnold's going to be 28. And Sam Darnold's ascending. I don't know that you could say Geno Smith has a lot more ceiling to reach. So, they save money. Yeah.
Wow. And he's on his 5th team. And he's not a bad quarterback. In fact, he might just be good. Like, here's the thing. Who was better last year, Sam Darnold or Justin Herbert?
Well, I would say Sam Darnold for the season for sure. Yeah.
And then they went to the playoffs. They both flopped, but Herbert threw 4 picks. Not all of them were his fault, but Darnold didn't throw 4 picks.
Well, and let's be clear, the 9 sacks were not all his fault either. If you go back and watch that game, I'm not going to be the person that like excuses the game for Sam Darnold, but I will say, if you watch that game objectively, the offensive line was awful. The Rams completely blanketed all the receivers. Kevin O'Connell got outcoached, and Sam Darnold didn't play well. So like, it wasn't just him, but he was part of the problem.
I just think it's interesting how like Justin Herbert has a pretty mid season and then goes to the playoffs and poops the bed, and everyone's like, that guy's a great quarterback. Like, I know. Care. And then Darnold has like a pretty excellent season, poops the bed in the playoffs a little bit, and people are like, that's exactly who he is, and I knew it.
That's how people are, dude. I mean, did you see the Ringer quarterback rankings? I think they had Justin Herbert like 3rd, like above Joe Burrow. And then they have Sam Darnold at like 21.
There's really nothing Herbert could do to change people's minds at this point. He's just tall and handsome, and he throws a nice spiral, and that's that.
He's dating who's he dating now?
Yeah, if Darnold wanted to get more respect, date someone that we've heard of.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not up on all that, but I know that there's a lot of TMZ stuff going on around Justin Herbert. I doubt there's much TMZ stuff following around Sam Darnold.
To his credit, we got Brock Purdy line dancing here and commercials for cowboy boots. All right, let me ask you about the Seahawks offense. So we've seen Darnold, we've seen the Seahawks defense. We don't really know what to expect from the Seahawks offense. We saw that one drive. It was really nice. It was against the Chiefs. What's this going to look like? What is this going to look like?
I think it's very clear what they want it to look like. And that's a big step up from what you could even say last year, where you had a college coordinator coming up, never coached in the NFL, with a college offensive line coach who had never coached in the NFL, and none of the offensive coaches had ever coached together. So it was like a complete, it was kind of a shit show, to be honest. So like, they want to be a wide zone running team. They want to be aggressively getting downhill and getting to 3rd and manageables, or not getting to 3rd down at all. They're going to be bootleg play action. I mean, it's going to be very familiar to 49ers fans what they're going to try to do. I think it's like the old school Kyle Shanahan offense, where Kyle Shanahan has now moved away from being a run-centric offense and are trying to really rely on their, $53 million a year quarterback. The Seahawks are like, no, we're going to build a balanced offense. And the thing I'd say there, Grant, is I mentioned about what Geno had to deal with. Both Zach Charbonnet and Ken Walker, their average yards before contact was negative last year. Both of them were getting tackled and hit before they even got to the line of scrimmage. People wouldn't realize this, but Ken Walker had 1 fewer forced missed tackles than Saquon Barkley last year, and he did it in half the snaps. But a lot of those were just trying to get back to the line of scrimmage, so it just didn't feel
Saquon
like
Barkley had some lean years on bad teams. I'm just saying, I'm a big Kenneth Walker truther, and I love Charbonnet too, because I've been watching him since college.
I know you do.
If you put Walker on the Eagles or the Commanders or the Ravens, I mean, he'd be an offensive player of the year candidate, in my opinion.
I don't think that's out of the question this year for the Seahawks, and that's going to sound crazy, biased, homerish, and that's fine if that's how people want to hear it. But I would not have said that last year. I think based off of the way this young offensive line is gelling and working with another former Shanahan disciple, John Benton, and Rick Dennison, offensive line folks.
Dennison.
Like this
God,
looks
this is an
like
old school Kubiak production, man. It's crazy. Rick Dennison. Hadn't heard his name in 20 years.
It looks like Kenneth Walker could be a guy who's actually breaking tackles past the line of scrimmage and breaking off 50, 60, 70-yard runs.
He's a home run hitter.
He is.
Yeah.
And he's a good receiver too. I think people forget that. And the other thing to know about this offense that, you've talked about the fullback down there in Santa Clara, who just kind of shuffles back and forth.
Big fan.
And I know that you look at him closely everywhere. But Robbie Oots, you're welcome. Robbie Oots, draft pick for the Seahawks at Alabama, played tight end, 6'4", 274 pounds. I think he's going to be not only a Patrick Ricard kind of blocker, he's going to be a guy that can receive out of the backfield. So he's a sneaky guy that people will never have heard of, who I think could play a role in this game.
Okay, how do you anticipate the workload to be distributed between Charbonnet and Walker, or is that just
Yeah.
a big mystery?
It's funny because I mean every fantasy person wants to know this, right?
Yeah,
And I think in the Seahawks facility at the VMAC, they would probably in closed doors say it's going to be 50-50. That's what I
yeah,
think. That's what I
yeah,
think that they believe. Kenneth Walker will start. My belief is when you see Kenneth Walker behind this line, they're going to have a really hard time taking him off the field. I think it's going to be closer to 70-30, but who knows? I mean, Kenneth Walker he's just a different dude than anyone
yeah.
else on that roster. And he could be like a true blue chip player if things break the right way.
Yeah, Charbonnet's a load. He'll wear you down. He can catch some passes, but he's not truly explosive like Walker.
Right.
Okay, let me ask you about these receivers. You get rid of DK, you bring in Cooper Kupp. What's that about? I mean, the last time Niners saw Cooper Kupp, he was super duper washed.
Yeah.
So is he better now? Is there a new plan for him? Like, explain that one.
Well, I'll say this. They did not want to let go of DK Metcalf. Like they were hard. They fully expected DK Metcalf to be here and they were going to pay him and all that stuff.
Okay.
DK Metcalf was like, nope. They wouldn't even get to numbers because he wanted, he did.
He's like Sam Darnold. Don't believe in him.
No, this was before. This is before all that. So the team wanted DK. The plan was never let's go get Cooper Kupp and MVS instead of like that was plan Q. Like that wasn't even plan B. So they did it. They had money to spend, and I think they brought Cooper Kupp in primarily because he's going to set a culture in there of how you work, how you be a pro. I don't think they brought him in there to be 2019 Triple Crown winning Cooper Kupp. And he has been like, there's two things that have held Cooper Kupp back the last few years: health. And then, does he have the same physical skills that he once had? Health, he hasn't missed a practice, hasn't missed a snap. Looks like he's ready to get out there. So that's good.
That's what they said about Christian. We'll talk about it in a minute. We'll talk about it in a minute.
The other piece, though, is like, does he still have it? And I can't say, like, if I had to bet right now, I would say probably not. Like, I think he could be like
him in the one-on-ones. Does he win? Not like he used to.
Yeah, I mean, he does, but I mean, I see him as like kind of like a Tyler Lockett for the Seahawks the last few years, where he's like a good guy that's going to make some plays that help move the chains, maybe score you some touchdowns in the red zone.
He'll find the hole in the zone.
Yeah.
The savviness.
Not a guy that you're going to really game plan for. In fact, you're probably going to try to force the Seahawks to rely on him, is my guess.
Okay. What about JSN? Is he a number one wide receiver? How is Clint Kubiak going to feature him?
Man, that is, as far as the house of cards for the way the Seahawks are built, he's one of the foundational pieces, right? If he were to go down, then that whole offense looks massively
frumpy.
Yeah. Yes. He actually, like, you saw how Marvin Harrison Jr. put on all the like muscle, like the guy looks like a defensive end now. JSN quietly put on some muscle himself, but not to that level. He absolutely abused the Packers during joint practice. The Packers beat writers were just like, my God, they cannot stop this guy. And everything I see is that he's ready to take that next step into being, I mean, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is like a reasonable comp for what he could be. He's not quite the physical player that Amon-Ra is, but as far as an impactful, mostly slot, but can play outside and just as a factor, hard to cover. I think that's who JSN could be.
Is Jake Bobo a factor?
You're such a UCLA
I mean, I know
dude.
he wants UCLA.
You're such a UCLA dude.
Is he like your Jauan Jennings? Like what is the deal with Bobo?
That would be a good comp at the ceiling, because Jennings is such a physical player on third down, makes all the contested catches, great blocker in the run game. And one of the things that made the 49ers for all those years were their blocking receivers. Debo, Ayuk, Jennings were easily the three best run blocking receivers in football when together. And I think the Seahawks are hoping that Jake Bobo, by the way, has been one of the best run blocking receivers. He has not proven that he can be that Joe Juravicious, Jauan Jennings style impact player yet. He's a good contested
Joe
catcher.
vicious.
That's kind
a
of, I was
pull.
talking about Hasselbeck the other day. That's kind of the
Okay.
comp I have in my mind for Jake Bobo. Can make some plays, can score some touchdowns, but not a guy you want to target a lot.
Have you ever gone to Jake Bobo and asked if he's heard of Joe Jurevicius? I bet the answer would be no.
I will. He's
I
been
went
in
up to
concussion
Jordan
protocol,
Mason
so
last
I can't
year.
talk to him now.
Trent Williams compared Jordan Mason to Marshawn Lynch. I went over to Jordan Mason. I'm like, have you ever heard of Marshawn Lynch? He was like, no.
What? He had never
No.
heard of Marshawn Lynch?
Never heard of Marshawn Lynch.
I don't
A lot of
believe
football
that.
players don't watch football, man.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I was like, watch his highlights, come back tomorrow and holler at me. So I go back the next day. I'm like, what'd you think? And he's like, man, stop comparing me to Hall of Famers. Stop comparing me to Hall of Famers. I was like, it was Trent. It was Trent. I didn't do it. Okay. So let's talk Niners for a minute.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey on the injury report. We're still waiting to hear more. Although whatever we hear between now and 90 minutes before kickoff is probably going to be a bunch of hot air from Seattle. Knowing what you know about this team, what was your reaction when you heard this news?
I didn't have nearly my reaction was more to the reaction of all the 49ers fans and media. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that kind of reaction to a player being listed as limited. It wasn't even like did not practice. It was like calf limited. I'm like, oh, well, calf, I get it. And it's like,
But it means that he started practice and didn't finish. That's what that means.
Yeah. So, I mean, my honest assumption is they're just taking precautions and he's going to be fine and he's going to be a big factor in this game. Like that's my assumption. But I'd understand from a 49er perspective of like, oh, this feels like deja vu and that
PTSD, man. We did this already.
Exactly.
I went to therapy about this. We talked about this in therapy.
Check his travel logs. Make sure he's not heading to Germany anytime soon. And
he might be there right now eating strudels.
It's hard for me to believe that he's been. I mean, you know better than I do, but like everything I've heard is that he's looked great during camp, and if I would assume he's let it loose all the way up until now, and
you'd assume.
I
don't know that he has let it loose. To me, what I saw was a guy who was holding back.
Really?
When Christian McCaffrey is letting it loose, it's so obvious. It's like awe-inspiring. It's like, oh my God, this is one of the best athletes I've ever seen. He never looked like that at any point this offseason. He looked like a healthy 29-year-old. And so I assumed that he was waiting for this moment to show and kick it into gear, and maybe he just felt a little twinge, and it's fine. Maybe he just felt a little, but scary, man.
Do you think that the Brian Robinson trade was at all like? Did they have some inkling that maybe this was going to be an issue?
Makes you wonder, right? Because it's like if you didn't like Isaac Guerrero as your backup, and you just wanted another backup running back, it's so not hard to find one of those. But you went out and traded for a guy who's really been a starter, has a lot of starter experience. It makes you wonder if they knew something 2 weeks ago.
That's what I mean. I think Robinson's a nice player, but I mean, you and I have talked about this before. Christian McCaffrey, what he does as a receiver, forget what he does as a runner, is an absolute game changer for what Kyle Shanahan can call. Changes the game for George Kittle, changes the coverages that people like Mike McDonald would call. So, I mean, there's a reason he was Offensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. I'm not saying he's going to be that again, but even him just being on the field, like look back at the Tampa Bay game last year for the 49ers. Like he was a big part of the reason they won that game. That's true. And he wasn't even full strength. So, I mean, we'll see. I hope he's fine. I think NFL's better when Christian McCaffrey's out there playing. Unfortunately, he has had injury issues over his career.
You had an interesting stat about Christian McCaffrey. You put it on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah. So you're talking about the one this was surprising to me. So Christian McCaffrey was contacted behind the line of scrimmage on, I think it was 58% of his carries last season. That was the highest rate for any running back with at least 50 carries. And the thing for me is kind of like, wow. Is that offensive line improved at all since last year?
Well, I'm trying to see like how many of those games were without Trent Williams. So I can find that out right now. He went down against Seattle. So the first two games, Christian had Trent. The second 2 games, he did not. And he was really bad against Green Bay in the rain without Trent. I remember him sitting at his locker afterwards, just looking at nothing. And I could only, like, he was like, it seemed to me like he was wondering, do I suck? But I don't know. It was that look like, what happened? What happened? I used to be so freaking good. I'm projecting, but it had that look.
But then you also had the Buffalo game in the snow. Like it could be a misleading number, but it grabbed my attention because, I mean, that's a Seahawk problem. Like the Seahawks are 100% used to their running backs getting hit in the backfield. 49ers, generally that's not been an issue, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, usually if they run left behind Trent Williams and George Kittle, they're going to get 3-4 yards before contact.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's that team anymore. Okay. So that's the context of the whole game. We don't really know what Christian's going to do. Hard to make a prediction before you know, but that's kind of what the Niners want. How do you see this game unfolding?
Well, I'll give you two. I'll give you the vibes, and I'll give you what I think is probably most likely. Which one do you want first?
Vibes.
So vibes. I went to Seahawks facility yesterday, and I was asking Leonard Williams and Adam Dirty, the defense coordinator, and a couple other guys, like, why is it so hard for rookie defensive tackles to defend the run? Like, why is it so rare to find guys that can do that? And they just went on and on about how much, you have to learn in this league. And I won't give you the whole spiel, but the basic gist was, like, I just don't think the 49ers have the horses on the inside of their line to go up against the run offense and this offensive line that the Seahawks have. I would have never said that in the last 10 years. Like, just right. Either part of that, I would have not have said in the last 10 years.
Because it's been the Seahawks offense line has been paper thin, and the Niners D line has been one of the best.
Exactly. And now when I look at it, I just don't see it. You could put 5 guys on the line. You could put 6 guys. I just don't think they have the horses. And so from a Vi's perspective, I think the Seahawks are going to run the ball a lot. I don't think it's crazy that they could put up well north of 150 yards on the ground against the 49ers. I think that the Seahawks defense is a good match for the 49ers offense, and Mike McDonald spent an offseason, going through it. And so I've got the Seahawks winning this quite a bit from a Vibes perspective. Like, I think it could be 35-17, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. From a analytical perspective, like actually, like what's most likely, I think the Seahawks get out to a fast start, especially offensively. I think that Brock Purdy and the offense make it a close game in the end, make everybody sweat. I think the Seahawks probably end up winning by a touchdown. So either way, that's how I see it. But I could definitely tell you ways that the 49ers win this game. But you probably don't need me to, because I'm sure everyone watching this has a million different ways that the 49ers are going to win.
Well, I picked the Niners to win on Tuesday, and my thought process was, I mean, this is the healthiest the Niners offense is going to be all year. I mean, they don't have Ayuk right now, but Trent's healthy and Kittle's healthy and McCaffrey's healthy. But now I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't play in this game, I'm not picking the Niners to win without McCaffrey. And here's the other thing about the Niners. Take the McCaffrey question out of it. I think it's just as big of a question is their entire defense. Is it good? Is it bad? It might be bad. It could be great by the end of the season, but week 1, Michael Williams hasn't even played a preseason game. You don't know what the defensive line has, what it does well. It might be legitimately a bad defense. I don't even know. Whereas with the Seahawks, the defense is good. And the offense probably is going to be okay to start the season. The Niners offense should be good with Christian McCaffrey. Without him, we saw it last year. It was inconsistent at best. And again, the defense, I have no idea what to expect from it. I don't think they do. Maybe they do.
You said that the Niners defense can end up being good. I kind of would need to hear, like, what would have to happen for the Niners defense.
Michael Williams would have to become really good. Bryce Huff would have to have a bounce back season. D. Winters or Nick Martin or both would have to become like Dre Greenlaw types. Bernardo Green would have to take another step. Malik Mustafa coming back, he has to be better than he was last year. Marquise Siegel looks pretty good, but he has to keep playing. I mean, so many young players would have to like rapidly improve over the course of the season, 5 or 6. Alfred
Yeah,
Collins.
I see a Niners team who I love the young secondary that they've got, and I think that those guys can grow. Lenore, Mustafa, I really liked. It's a shame that he got hurt and it's going to take a little while. But Siegel, I think, is interesting. Renardo Green is interesting. But I think Upton Stout, by the way, I'm a big fan of. I don't think there's a lot of great defenses that are secondary first. And the front seven for the 49ers, Bosa and Warner are all-world guys. But there's a lot of Jags outside of that. And so it's hard for me to see how a team that was like one of the worst defenses in football last year by a lot of measures is going to be one of the best this year with the changes they made. I don't know. Robert Saleh, I've talked to you about this. I thought Robert Saleh led every great defense in San Francisco during his 4 seasons when he was with the 49ers first time. How many of those were top 10 defenses in terms of points allowed? 1. And that was Nick Bosa's rookie year. When Nick Bosa got hurt the next year, they dropped to 17th. So I don't think they have anywhere near like the DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, DJ Jones, Dre Greenlaw, Aziz Al-Shaair, like even Charvarius Ward. Like there was a K'Wan Williams. They had a lot of dudes on those teams. Obviously, Hufanga's gone. So I just don't know that he's got the horses no matter how good of a play caller he is.
Yeah. To me, if the Niners lose this game, Kenneth Walker runs for 150.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to that.
Should be an entertaining start to the season for sure.
Doesn't it feel like whichever team loses is going to be really bitterly disappointed? Although if Christian doesn't play, the Niners can give themselves a little excuse. But if Christian plays and they lose, they're going to feel like, how? Why? And I think the Seahawks feel the same way. I think the Seahawks legitimately expect to win.
That's one of the craziest parts is Seahawks fans have not gone into the matchup with the 49ers for the last few years expecting to win. The hope was just don't get humiliated because their roster is way better and their coach was way better. Now, I think Seahawks fans expect to win. Like they are confident that they're going to win. And 49ers fans from everywhere I'm seeing are equally confident, if not more confident, the 49ers are going to win. So yeah, there's going to be one side of this that is really, really down come Sunday night.
It's a great way to start the season. I still think that the Seahawks are the Niners' biggest rivals. And I think the reason that is because the Seahawks fan base is so good. Like the Rams fan base doesn't exist. The Cowboys have 8 rivals, but the Seahawks have this little brother. Like the Seahawks look at the Niners the way like the Giants look at the Dodgers. It's like, you guys think you're a bigger deal than us because you're in San Francisco, but you're not, and we hate you. And I love that about a rivalry. I think it's perfect.
It is. I mean, I remember when the 49ers fans and team didn't think twice about the Seahawks. And it really wasn't until that 2012 game, the year that 49ers went to the Super Bowl with Harbaugh, when they came up to Seattle and got absolutely smoked. And all of a sudden from there on, like all of a sudden the Seahawks kind of owned the 49ers, and 49ers fans did not like that.
So I remember that. I covered that game. It was 2012, the week before the Niners beat Brady in New England.
Yeah.
They were.
Kaepernick was going crazy before that.
Yeah. And like, to me, it was like, oh my God, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They just proved it. So me and my dad were sitting at the Metropolitan Grill at the bar, and the bartender or the waiter came over to us and he was like, so we were like, oh, we're covering the game. We're made out of town. Like, oh, cool. Who do you think's going to win? And we like laughed. We are like, the Niners. And the guy was like, oh, you do? Like, that's interesting because they're not going to win. And I'm like, did he see last week? And if I remember, the Seahawks whooped the shit out of the Niners. Whooped the shit out of them, didn't they?
They did. 42-13.
Yes. Yeah. So that was, I didn't know that was happening.
That's the thing. Like nobody pays attention. The Seahawks leading up to that game, they beat the Cardinals 58-0. They went up to play the Bills in Toronto, beat them like 52-30. Like they had like all these blowouts. Like they just completely turned into that LOB team. But like they're Seattle. Nobody cares. So I think the Seahawks are back to their Seattle. Nobody cares. And the question for this team is, man, do they have dudes like you've been saying that can make this more than just kind of a mediocre team? And I'm looking forward to Mike McDonald versus Kyle Shanahan, man. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch too.
It always is. Brian, thank you so much for coming on my channel. I really appreciate it.
Happy to do it, dude. See you soon.
I'll see you up there. All right, that's Brian Nemhauser, the Hawk blogger, the famous Hawk blogger. He did a great job. Thank you again for coming on. I got some super chats and we'll get out of here. Nick Kithcart says, Brian, that's what they do in Seattle. They're big on this right here. Yeah. Grunge. No, I like Seattle. Seattle's one of my 3 favorite road trips. Seattle, New Orleans, New York. And I get them all in the same season. Me. New Orleans back to back. New Orleans is so great. Because it is the South, but it's not the South. It's America, but it's not America. It's like going to the moon and having a good time. It's a lot of fun. Can you see a firing midseason for too many lumps? Nah, I don't think so. Not midseason. Good question, People's Niners. Also, what's so great about New Orleans is like, I'm only in town for 2 nights usually. And I don't get to do that much. Like I'm not going to museums and stuff. I want to get a nice dinner. And, some places you're just going to go to the Capitol Grill and call it a day and have a good time. But in New Orleans, they have all this unique, incredible food that you aren't going to get anywhere else. So I enjoy that. Peter says, shout out Mama Ayuk, but also, why does it feel like we are cursed? Sick of this. Man, just go watch Lombardi later today. He'll walk you off the ledge. He'll make you feel a lot better. That's what he's here for. He is, you know what I mean? You just leave his therapy office, come to mine. I'll make you feel bad, you go to his. He'll make you feel good, come to mine. That's how it works. Ajaz says Seahawks special teams were awful in preseason. Niners special teams was awful in 2024. Who loses a special teams battle worse? Maybe the team with Jake Moody. That's a thought. Okay, guys, that's my show. Thanks for watching. 3,600 concurrent people watching. That's a lot. I appreciate all the love. I'm sure you guys are mostly here for Brian Nemhauser and Christian McCaffrey updates, which I couldn't provide. Tom Pelissero acted like he had an upgrade, but I mean, there wasn't really an update. I don't really think it was an update. I don't really know about that. So that's how I feel. I'm heading over to Seattle in a few hours. We'll see what the great beat writers who are down there in Santa Clara have to say about what happens today. If Christian McCaffrey practices and talks at his locker and says he feels great, I don't care. Be on the field.